Okay, so uncertainties. We were discussing uncertainties last time, and in uncertainties, I told you like we never have like very accurate measures in experiments, especially. In theory, we can get accurate answer. We can get actual answer. So if I ask you like what will be the time from this to formula, so let's say I give you this formula. I say t is equal to 2 times x. Let's say x is some constant, and I tell you x is 2. You will tell me like t is 4. You will give me an exact answer. You won't tell me like t can be 5, t can be 3. You will tell me t is exactly 4 when x is 2. But now the thing is, when we conduct experiments in physics, what happens is basically we are never too sure. So basically, let's say I am using a pendulum, the pendulum is swinging, and I am taking the reading for the pendulum, for the time period of the pendulum. The thing is like when it will move, I want to see the time for 10 oscillations. Let's say I want to determine the time for 10 oscillations. And what will happen is basically after 10 oscillations, when I will stop it, there might be some time delay. And due to that, there will be some error. Okay. So there is always some error in experiments, you can say. And due to that, we are never sure of our answers. So when we give experimental results, we don't just say that the period of this pendulum is 10 seconds. We give our answers like this. So we say it is 10 plus minus 0.1, let's say. It will vary like according to your instruments and equipment, it will vary. So for example, if you are using, let's say, you are conducting a more sensitive experiment. In that case, let's say you are using video cameras, and you are basically you are using slow motion cameras. Let's say you can measure time more accurately in that case because you can clearly see from the video like when it is going to stop, and in that case, your uncertainty may go down further. Like it may go down to 0.001 seconds. But let's say you are conducting an experiment in an environment that is not very accurate. Let's say you're just using your let's say you're using just a stopwatch, and just by using that stopwatch, you are measuring the time period of a pendulum. In that case, the uncertainty will be higher, right? Because it will be difficult. There will be your human reaction time. So there's different factors that go into this, and so uncertainties can change. Due to those different factors, uncertainties can change. Now, this part of this the lecture, this will deal with how to deal with uncertainties in like in calculations. Okay, how we deal with uncertainties in calculations. So for example, let's say I have this formula and I want to calculate the perimeter. So the question is, find the perimeter of a rectangle, let's say, where the dimensions of rectangle are given below. Okay, so I will write some dimensions now. So this is our question, let's say. And the values are dimensions basically means like the length and the breadth. So let's say the length is um, let's say it is 1 meter, and let's say the breadth is 2 meters. But let's say these are not actually calculated, but these are determined from an experiment. So this is not actually 1 meter. So this is 1 plus minus 0.01 meter, let's say. Okay, and similarly this 2, this is not actually 2, but let's say this is also plus minus 0.01 meter. So let's say this is because of the equipment that you are using, or maybe for some other reason, but this is the case. Okay, so this is your rectangle on this side that I will draw, and this is what it looks like. So this side over here, this is B, and this is L. So if I want to calculate the perimeter, I know that the perimeter is the sum of all sides. So if this is B and this is L, then I know that this is also L and this is also B. And when I am finding the perimeter, I will add all of them. So P, the formula for P will be L plus L plus B plus B. Now we add all of them. Let's say we took one. So this is B is 2, B is 2. So 2 plus 1 plus 1. So this will be, what do you say? 4 and 6 meters, roughly 6 meters. But now the thing is, there are also these uncertainties, 0.01 meter. So obviously, when I'm calculating my final answer, I will have to take these into account. So basically, if I'm calculating the total length of these four sides, then there can be a difference of 0.01 meters in each side. So the perimeter will also have some uncertainty. I will not be very sure about the perimeter. Now I want to know what is the uncertainty in the perimeter. How will I do that? So one way to do that is by, so this is my P average, let's say. So this is my P, I'm just calling it P. Okay. So one way to do that, let's call it one. This is my first method. We're determining uncertainty. Okay. So first method is by taking the upper bound of P. Upper bound of P, like the maximum value of P that I can achieve. What is the maximum value of P that I can achieve? In that case, I will take L to be 1.01. Okay. Because that is the maximum value of L that I can have. And I will take B to be 2.01. So this will become 1.01 plus 1.01, because I want to find the maximum value of this, plus 2.01 plus 2.01, and this will come out to be, in this case, to be equal to 6.04. meter. So to find the uncertainty, we show uncertainties by using a D sign before the symbol. So I will just say dP in this case, because P is the perimeter. What I will do is I will subtract this P from this value. So I will get 6. This tells me basically what's the difference between the highest value and our average value. Minus 6, and this will give me 0.04 meter. So this is my uncertainty. Okay, and my answer is 6. So let me put it like this: 6 plus minus 0.04 meter. Okay, this is the first method. Now the second method is, so you see this method is quite extensive, and the second method is, you basically, if you notice one thing, you can get the same value 0.04 if you add up all the uncertainties. So there are, like, you have L plus B plus B. So if I want to find the uncertainties, what I can do is I can add the uncertainty of L plus the uncertainty of L again, plus the uncertainty of V plus the uncertainty of V again. I will get 0.01 plus 0.01 plus 0.01 plus 0.01, and the uncertainty total will be 0.04 again. So that is the shorter method. So 2, and I know that P is equal to L plus L plus B plus B. Okay. So all I need to do is I need to add a D with each of them. To find the uncertainty of P, I will write the uncertainty of each one. I will use the same formula. This will become DL. This will become DL. DL means uncertainty of L. Okay, don't confuse it with some derivative or anything. This is uncertainty of B now. Uncertainty of B plus uncertainty of B. And if I wait, and if I add all of them, I will get 0.04 again, and it will give me the same answer. The first value, I will have to calculate this anyway. In both of methods, I will have to calculate this anyway. So I will calculate this. So this will always come in my answer. So my final answer will be 6 plus minus 0.04 meters. Okay, so that's the shorter method. Okay. Now, this rule basically, you extend this rule to other application. And how do you extend it? Now I'll explain. So let's make a table. Okay, let me give you another example. So let's say now this is some second question, and in this case, you want to find B minus L. B minus L. Okay, and let's call this quantity as A. Let's say this is A, some random variable that again. So you want to calculate B minus L. Okay, and this is, let's say, equal to A. So I know that A is going to be equal to 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, and this is going to be equal to 1, right? 1 meter. So this is the approximate length. Now I want to find the uncertainty in A. So again, by first method, if you see, now if I want to find the maximum value of A, I know that A is equal to B minus L. So to find the maximum value of A, I will have to take the maximum value of I will have to take the maximum value of B and the minimum value of L, right? Because like let's say you are finding 5 minus 3. So if I increase this 5 to 6, 6 minus 3, I will get a bigger answer if I use a bigger value over here. And similarly, if I keep this value same and I use a smaller value over here, in that case, I will get a bigger answer than this 5 minus 3. So what you do is you use a bigger value of B and a smaller value of L because you want the maximum answer. So this is A upper you can say or anything. So this is bigger value of B and smaller value of L. So what's the bigger value of B? So B is 2. And if I add the uncertainty, it becomes 2.01. And then the smaller, so uncertainty in L is 0.01 meter again, and L is 1 meter. So if I subtract 0.01, it will become 1.99 meter. Okay. And what I will get is I will get 0.02 meters. So basically, let me write this in another step. Let me remove this from here because this might confuse you a bit in the notes. So let me see if I can. Okay. So this is the upper bound of uncertainty, and to find the uncertainty finally, I will just say dA, the uncertainty in A, is equal to, what's the uncertainty? 2.1, 2 point, wait, sorry. Yeah, so this will become, I think I made a mistake. Okay. So B upper is 2.01 and L lower is 0.99. Yeah, because L is 1 meter, and when I reduce the length of L by 0.01 meter, it becomes 0.99 meter. So now from here, I will get my answer as 1.02 meter. Now if I want to find the uncertainty, what I will do is I will do this small calculation over here, and I know that the uncertainty in A, this will be equal to AU minus the normal value of A. So this will be 1.02 minus 1. So this will be equal to plus minus 0.02. And my final answer will be this answer plus minus this answer. Plus minus this answer. So I will get 1 plus minus 0.02. Okay. Now what's the method to approach this by the other method? So this method is pretty simple. All you do in this method is you take the maximum value and you subtract your original value from this. So this method is already pretty simple. But now let's try and do this with the next method. So this is direct method. What you do is in subtraction, when you're taking values, you add the uncertainties. So you have this dA, you know the uncertainty of dV and you know the uncertainty of L. So all you do is, I know, so let me write over here. I know that A is equal to B minus L. Now you may think like in the first case, all of the things were being added in the parameter, so we added their uncertainties. In this case, you may think like it will be dV minus dL, but the thing is, we cannot get 0.02 in that way. If I do dV minus dL, I will get 0.01 minus 0.01 and that will be 0. The uncertainty I'm getting is 0.02. I know that because from the first part, I know that. So how will I get 0.02? The general rule is whenever you are adding or subtracting, always what you have to do is you have to add the uncertainties. So it will be dB plus dl, even in this case. Although you are subtracting here, you will have to add this because only in this method it is possible that you can get 0.01 plus 0.01 plus 0.01 and this will be equal to 0.02. So this is our answer. So that's why we know that this method is correct. Let me put again over here. Okay. So this is our uncertainty and we already know the value of A. So this is 1. So again, I will get the same answer 1 plus minus 0.02 meter. So you see same answer again. Okay. So you can always do first method if you want. There is no, you can say there is no problem with it except that it's a bit long and it is not recommended. So in like theories, I will not recommend doing it. So if they ask you a question in theory, I will say go with the second one because when you are writing the second one, you are basically telling the examiner what you are doing actually. Okay. Now we have done this for addition and subtraction. Now for multiplication, division, and multiplication with another number, I will just explain it overall, and you can remember these rules. But sorry, can you can ask?
I have yeah,
What?
I have some doubts.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Doubts. What is actually a D in it? D or P?
Yeah, so D is actually any variable that we put to show that this is the uncertainty of A. So DA means uncertainty of A. DB means uncertainty of B. DL means uncertainty of L. Okay.
And DB means uncertainty of B.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is the
And
common
DP?
notation. DP, where like in this one, yeah. So this means the uncertainty of P. So this came out to be 0.04. Okay, so
Right.
D always we use it to show that this is the uncertainty of that quantity.
First, and what is PU?
PU. So that is, I told you, like you were calculating the upper limit. So you want to know what is the maximum value of P that I can get. And to calculate the maximum value, I just told you like it was PU. I just named it. So it is like it is easier to differentiate it from the original P. So you find the maximum value and you separate from normal value from it and you get the difference. That is your uncertainty. Okay,
So
this uncertainty basically tells you that your value 6, your answer of perimeter, it can be either plus minus 0.4 from this value or it can be either minus 0.04 from this value. Okay, so that's why we calculate this value. Mhm.
If we add 0.04 and 6, it becomes the upper limit. And if
Yep,
we
exactly. So that
subtract
becomes the
0.04, it
yeah.
becomes the lower
Yeah.
limit.
So when you add 0.04, that is the maximum possible value of P according to our measurements. And when you subtract 0.04, that is the
Hmm.
minimum value of P possible according to our measurements. So if I ask you what is the range of P, what like in what range can I get my P? So you will tell me I can get P from 5.96 meters to 6.04 meters. So this is my
6.0.
possible range of P. This is not a minus sign. This is not a minus sign in between. It tells you like from 5.96 to 6.04. I can get any value between these and my experiment will be correct. Okay. So this is what it means. Clear?
So which one do you prefer, method 1 or method 2?
Method two. That's why I'm telling you like always go for method two. I will tell you why. Now now I'm coming to multiplication and division. After that, you will see why. Okay. So let's
And for this one,
Mhm.
scroll up.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh wait, sorry.
yeah, for this one, why? No, the question to B minus L.
Okay. Mhm.
What is B and L over here?
B and L. So B is basically the breadth. I told you like it can be anything. So it can be any variable. I told you like B is 2 and L is 1 and the uncertainty in B is 0.01 and the uncertainty is L in 0.01 again. I am using the same values from over here. I'm
Hmm.
using these same values. I'm
Hmm.
using the same values. Okay.
Okay.
So using those same values, I'm doing this question too.
And it go down.
What sorry, can you
Yeah.
repeat?
So uh, you add 0.01, it became 2.01.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
became
you add
2.01.
0.01 to positive, and you subtract 0.01 from 1, it
It became 0.99. Yeah.
became 0.99.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I did because I wanted to get the maximum value of their result. So basically, I wanted to get the maximum value of A basically. For because of that reason, I did the maximum value of B minus the lowest possible value of L. Okay, clear?
Why didn't you add up both of the times, like two add 0.01 and 1, and then add up 0.01 to it?
Yeah, because if I do that, then I will not get the maximum possible value of A. I want to get the maximum possible value. If I add both of them, I will. If I get 2.01 minus 1.01, in that case, I will just get 1, which is basically the same as my previous answer. I want to get the maximum possible value that is within my range. So within my range of errors. So my range of errors is like plus minus 0.01 for B and plus minus 0.01 for L. I want to get a value of A that is within those range of errors. Okay. So for that reason, I want to get the maximum
Mhm.
error. I want to get the maximum error of A. How far can I go for A? How far can I go from this value of 1 meter? If I just take 1 and 1, so if I just take 2.01 and I subtract 1.01, in that case, 1.01 with 1.01, in that case, I will just get 1. And I already have that value. Okay. So there is no use in getting that value. I am finding the maximum possible value. I want to find the maximum possible deviation. So that's why
Yes.
we don't go with this. We don't go with this in this case. For addition, we can go with this method because in addition, the uncertainties will be automatically added up. But here we don't. So you see, this method is pretty simple. Now I'll explain why. The reason I told you like the second method is more preferable is because there are a set of rules in second method that can be applied always. So for example, when I tell you like when you are subtracting two values, you can always add their uncertainties. That will hold always. Okay, now I'll explain that. To explain this, let's take two values, A and B. A and wait, A and B. So these are my two values, and the uncertainty of A is dA. Let's say dA is some value, and the uncertainty of B is dB. Okay. Now, I'll explain the set of rules. What do I mean when I say like there is a set of rules? So for example, first rule is when you are doing A plus B. This is what we have already done. In that case, now in this case, you want to find uncertainties. How will you find uncertainty in this case? Your uncertainty, let's say C, there is a value C, and A plus B is equal to C. So the uncertainty in C will be equal to the uncertainty of A plus the uncertainty of A plus the uncertainty of B. Always. That's the first rule. We have done this one. So we have already found this in the perimeter question that when you add values, their uncertainties get added up. Okay. Now the second rule, which is also pretty simple, is that this one. A minus B. Let's say this is C again. Again, in this case, you have the same value and you will get this same thing over here. Okay. I think I'll have to write it again. So again, for DC, I know that this will be equal to dA plus dB. So dA is the uncertainty of A and dB is the uncertainty of B. And if I want to find the uncertainty of C, I can just do that. You can look over in the example that we just did. So if you see over here, we were finding B minus L, and to find the uncertainty, what we did was we did dB plus dL. You can see over here, and we found the correct answer. So this is actually true. Okay. So when you are subtracting, you again add uncertainties. So when you are adding, you add uncertainties, and when you are subtracting, you add uncertainties again. In both of these cases, you add uncertainties. Now there is this term. There is this term that I'm going to introduce now for this remaining part of this class. That term is called fractional uncertainty. Fractional uncertainty. Okay.
It's a type of uncertainty, isn't it?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Is it one of the type of uncertainty, fractional uncertainty?
Yeah, not actually, like you cannot call it a type of uncertainty. It is just a way of writing uncertainty. So
What
basically in
about the
this,
one? What What about the one you were talking about right now? We will start with the multiplication one and division.
yeah, for that we will do for that we're going to need this fractional uncertainty. That's why I'm explaining this. So fractional uncertainty.
Mm.
Okay. What is this? So if I ask you what is the fractional uncertainty of A, that is basically just dA over A. So basically, what's the use of this? In some cases, fractional uncertainty is more useful. It tells you how significant your experiment is. So basically, if I have something like, let's say there is an experiment, and let's say my value is coming out to be 0.1 plus minus 0.01. This was my result from one experiment, and another experiment I got 6 plus minus 0.02. Now you might think that this one is more accurate if you just look at the uncertainties, but I think this one is better. Why do I think that? Let me explain. So in this case, if you find the fractional uncertainty, that is coming out to be almost 0.1 or 10%, you can say 0.1, that is actually 10%. Okay, and in the second case, the fractional uncertainty is coming out to be 0.02 divided by 6, which is very insignificant, and almost that is 0.003. This is the
That's fine.
fractional
Take your
uncertainty. This basically tells you what is the impact of uncertainty on your results. So although in this first case, my uncertainty is low, it has a greater impact on my results. It is 10% of my result. That is very wrong, because it will tell me like basically my results can be in a very large range of values. That is wrong. In second case, the fractional uncertainty is 0.003. That tells me although it is 0. Although the uncertainty, the value of uncertainty is greater, it does not have much impact on the main result. So even if I add it to my main result, the main result will be 6.02. 6.02, yeah. So the change of 0.02 is very insignificant compared to 6. Similarly, if I have an even bigger value, so let's say I have 10,000, let's say, and then the uncertainty is, let's say, 0.1, let's say. This is, although this is a greater uncertainty again, but this is again even more insignificant compared to the main value. So fractional uncertainty tells you how important your uncertainty is. In this case, although uncertainty was small, it was very important. It was less important in this one, and then in this one, it had almost no impact at all. Okay, so that's why it is useful to calculate fractional
right.
uncertainty. Okay, fractional uncertainty in a nutshell, you can just summarize like fractional uncertainty tells you the what does it tell you? It tells you the impact of your uncertainty on your results, like how significant are your errors. Okay, so let me just this dA over A, this is basically fractional uncertainty of A. Fractional uncertainty of A. So if A is something,
So, uh,
yeah,
so when we are calculating fractional uncertainty, what we do is that we take a piece of a data and then we simply divide it by the value of the data, right?
yeah. So what you do is you take the error range, and you divide it by A, basically your actual value, your actual main value. Okay, so this is what you do, and I will write it over here. So what fractional uncertainty does is, so fractional uncertainty, let me decrease the font size now. Um, Again, come to level. Fractional uncertainty tells you how significant are your errors with reference to your results, let's say. Okay, I hope this is clear. So this is what fractional uncertainty does. Now, in multiplication, what we do is, now I'll consider examples for multiplication and division. So in multiplication, we have a case like this, let's say. A into B, let's say. A is being multiplied with B, and this is equal to C. So how will I find the fractional uncertainty of A? How will I find the uncertainty of C if I have the uncertainty of A and B? What I will do is I will apply this formula now. So in this case, in case of addition and subtraction, we just used to add simple uncertainties. Like the uncertainty of C was equal to the uncertainty of A plus uncertainty of B. In this case, we will add fractional uncertainties. So D C over C will be equal to dA over A. Wait. B A over A. This is the fractional uncertainty of A. Okay. I think the Zoom meeting limit was reached, so that's why the meeting disconnected. Okay. So what I was saying, yeah. So when you are multiplying A and B to get C, in that case you will add the fractional uncertainty of A and fractional uncertainty of B. Okay. We will do these examples. Don't worry. Don't worry about this. We will do examples, and you will see this is not as difficult as it looks. So I know that with all the D's and A's and everything, this may look a bit difficult. You may think like there are so many values, but this is not difficult at all. When you will do questions, you will see this does not even take 2 minutes when you are doing these questions. So don't worry.
Is there a particular reason why we're writing D for answer?
No, like it's just common notation. It is just common notation that we use. In physics, like whenever you want to show uncertainties, you just use D. That's just very common in physics. Everyone uses it, so that's why we are using it. There is no significant reason. None that I know of. Okay. So this is for the first case. And then for this example, we have A divided by B, and this is equal to C again. Wait. This is divided by C again. So again, what we will do is BC over C is equal to
A over.
Yeah. So we will add the fractional uncertainties again. So you see, we are not adding normal uncertainties now. We are adding fractional uncertainties in case of division and multiplication. So that's the only rule you need to remember basically. So dA over A plus on this side we have dB over B. As simple as that. Okay. So this is basically the 4 main rules. There is one more. There's one more. I will explain that. That is like the most simplest one, I think. You will not have any problem with that one. Let me just confirm if I'm missing anything. I'll just confirm it. And wait, there is actually 2 more rules. Sorry. Yeah, there are 2 more rules. And I will explain both of them. Okay. So the other 2 rules that I'm talking about, one is for the quantities when you have them in power. So let's say you have a to the power of something, a to the power of n, let's say, and you want to find the answer, find the uncertainty in your answer. What will you do in that case? So one formula is for that, and the other formula that is going to be for when you are multiplying your answer with something. So let me multiplying in a different sense, I mean. So basically, let's say
multiplying with the power.
No, like when you okay, let's do this. Then you will understand. So let's say in this case, in the fifth case, you have C, and C is equal to basically, let's say 5A. 5A. Okay. So this is pretty simple. You can basically, this is very intuitive. You can guess it. This makes sense logically. And what I mean is basically, DC in this case, the uncertainty again, we are not using fractional uncertainty, we are using uncertainty. DC will be basically equal to 5 times DA. So if uncertainty in your A is 0.1, so uncertainty in C will be 0.5. That's as simple as that. So basically, if I tell you like A is 1 plus minus 0.1, so C will be 5 and the uncertainty will be plus minus 0.5. This is the fifth rule. There can be any